everything's all feeling. If you feel it, the audience will feel it. So yeah, just remember that you love it, and work hard to be the best artist you can be, and everything, the doors will open for you eventually.
Well, my first question, kind of, a lot of people I know really want to become voice actors. It's a pretty, I guess, popular thing nowadays. Just so many of us grew up on anime and that sort of thing. So hopefully you're, living your dream. But I'm really curious, like whenever you're cast as a new character, what does a normal day look like on like day one when you're trying to get into the groove and find that voice?
Yeah, the minute I discover I'm cast as a character, if I don't know the show, I look up the show. I try to research the character themselves. Who's this guy? I go to the wiki, I go to the personality section, and I go, okay, what's their at first I gotta get a feel for who they are, their personality, how they act, how they operate. And then I look over, the plot and their history, like why are they the way they are, right? Where do they come from? Do they come from trauma? Do they come from wealth? Do they come from XYZ, right? Are they just a bright-eyed kid with a tragic past? Like why are they the way they are? And then if there's any kind of media out that I can watch, I watch it. So if there's a manga out, I read it. If there's an anime out, before we start recording, I watch it. And then I tend to out loud kind of sort of practice how my initial idea of what I want him to sound like based off of his character design and based off of the original voices that I hear. And I come up with an idea, like with Akira, for example. I did all of that, right? And I came up with, like the Akira voice we hear in the show is different than the Akira voice I auditioned with, because I then did more research and like came up with what I wanted him to sound like. And then when we recorded the first trailer, we honed that with the director and with the producers and with Viz, and then we all together created the voice of Akira, the English voice of Akira.
Hooray for teamwork.
Teamwork, always.
Anime has taught us well. Um, well, speaking of Akira on Zom 100, not to spoil too much for anybody who hasn't checked it out yet, but your character is trying to accomplish a bucket list in the heat of a zombie apocalypse. So this is probably a question you've probably received once or twice, or at least had to start thinking about. But curious, what are possibly the five things on your own bucket list?
I would love to go to Japan at some point. So that's one, right? Like the kind of the traveling. I would love to learn how to play the piano. I've always been into music, like as a kid, and like usually my electives were between acting and music making, right? So I had to pick one, right? But I would love to, like, I'd always wanted to learn how to play the piano. And I would love to, like, I'm a creative at heart, so I'd love to like paint. Like I'm working on a manga. I'd love to release sort of my own sort of manga, my own. I want to make a video game. There's like so many things like I want to create. So those are a few things like on my personal bucket list, I think.
We'll work together to get on it.
Yeah, let's do it. Teamwork.
Yeah, teamwork. Um, I kind of started the interview a little bit with something like this. But for people out there who have be a voice actor on their bucket lists, what advice can you give someone trying to become one in 2023?
My advice is just remember that you love it. Remember that there's going to be a lot. It's a journey. It's a journey. So there's going to be a lot of bumps on the road, right? And like the thing that's going to make you not want to like give up is like remembering that you love it, and like never giving up on that dream, and just study, practice, study, take classes, watch. If you can't take classes, like, or if you can't afford to take classes, watch the greats who are doing it. Watch your Bryce Papenbrooks, your Yuri Lowenthal's, your AJ Beckelses, your Anaris Quinonez's, your Jeremy Lee's. Watch the people who are doing it, your Johnny Young Bosch's who do it so much, and study them, study their performances. How are they able to tap into their emotions the way they are? And can you do that? Everything's all feeling. If you feel it, the audience will feel it. So yeah, just remember that you love it, and work hard to be the best artist you can be, and everything, the doors will open for you eventually.
Oh, absolutely, man. Great answer. And that kind of actually bleeds into another question I had. It was a little further down on the list, but we'll go ahead and move that right up. What are some voice acting performances that you've heard during your youth that inspired you to become a voice actor?
Man, so many, so many. The almost the entirety. I think the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood dub was what made me go, I want to do that. Like the feelings that it would produce in me, the goosebumps I would get at the end of every episode that would leave me on a cliffhanger, made me be like, I want to make someone else feel what this show made me feel. So like that, for example, would be like one. J. Michael Tatum has an incredible speech in Attack on Titan that gives me chills to this day, every single time. He's so good. All of Code Geass, Yuri Lowenthal. I was honored enough to have worked with Yuri Lowenthal on my first ever voiceover job. Before I knew who he was, I knew who he was, and yeah, so like just like that. Like I play a lot of video games too. So like Haley Joel Osment's 14, Sora from
Yeah.
1 and 2, like he was 14 and like 1, and then in 2 he was like 19 and his voice got all cool, it's like Dot Hack, oh my god, Dot Hack, GU, it's like Johnny Young Bosch and Yuri Lowenthal at it again. Just like I can go for hours about just like all of the stuff I grew up watching that like just inspired me as a kid. Like, Goku turning Super Saiyan for the first time, Gohan going Super Saiyan 2 during the Cell Saga, Tales of Symphonia. That's Scott Menville as Lloyd Irving. I mean that there's so many that I just Johnny Young Bleach. I was a big Bleach watcher. When Ichigo found his resolve, when he went Bankai for the first time, Johnny Young Bosch Bankai. Like, yeah. Anyway, that probably ate up so much time. But like,
No,
I can go down the Rolodex of like just things that inspired me. Naruto, Miley Flanagan's Naruto, incredible. Look, I was like, that's the Hypeland shirt too. That's the Hypeland Ichiraku Ramen. Yeah, yeah.
Hell yeah,
I'm a fan. But yeah,
you're,
like
you're among
much,
friends.
so even down to Justin Briner's Deku in My Hero Academia. Just even like recent years, like not even just like before I was before I was acting in anime, like I was watching my peers. Sean Chiplock, have you heard Sean Chiplock's Subaru and Ray Zero? It's freaking insane. It's freaking insane. I'm trying to throw a black voice actor in there, but we weren't doing a lot in those times in that era. But I just I really I love this stuff, and like growing up watching it, like all these performances, all these people who did all these incredible things have inspired me to be who I am today.
And actually, especially with Johnny Young Bach, like I'm catching up on Bleach right now too, and it's the Thousand Year Blood War. It's so good to see people that we grew up with still delivering it and still bringing it. And I honestly think that's something your work's going to be doing, man. I think your work's going to be inspiring people in the future. And I'm going to be, I don't know if I'll be interviewing somebody years from now, but, somebody eventually going to be like, man, no, Zeno's performance at the end of Dragon Ball Super. This bleeds into my next question, by the way. Your Gamma 2 performance makes me cry every time at the end of Dragon Ball Super. Again, not going to spoil it, but if you haven't seen it, what are you doing? But right. when you're coming crashing down and delivering that huge hit against Cell and stuff, just it's up there with the Deku anime screams. Like he delivers it too, and you bring it every time. You get my eyes all misty every time, man. So well
thank
done.
you. What's crazy about that scene is we did one scream. Yeah, Sabat directed that, right? I think he like directs like a lot of the Dragon Ball stuff now, and I did a scream, and he was like, "You good?" And I was like, "One more." I was like, "I can do it better." And he was like, "Are you sure? Like, you don't have to do it because he's trying to protect my voice." And I'm like, "No, this is Dragon Ball. Like, if there's anything I'm going to lose my voice over, I've been watching Dragon Ball streams for the entirety of my life. Like this is the one opportunity I get to go all out on a thing. If I have to break my voice, I'm gonna break it on this, right?" So, I said, "No, I can do one more. I can do a better one." And we did it, and I think like that is what we heard in the movie. And I think like a lot of people ask like, "Oh, like what, how did you prepare for that?" And I think me and I did this panel with her name's escaping me, but we established that like we had a lifetime of study, we had a lifetime of learning. I've been hearing these anime screams for the entirety of my life, and so it was just all of that I had put into the end of that movie.
Well, it showed, man. If I recall, didn't you win an award for that one?
I was nominated. I didn't win that year, but I
all
was
right.
nominated. I was nominated, which is great, which is cool, which is really
Absolutely.
cool. I didn't expect it to get nominated that year at all. So to get nominated for Gamma 2 was really dope.
Oh, absolutely, man. Well, speaking of, I mean, we're going on the height of the career, the highest experiences, but bringing it back to Zom 100, what's the worst job you've ever had?
Funny, luckily, I haven't worked like I've been privileged enough to not have like worked too many jobs, but I remember feeling like working retail. I worked retail for about a year when I was still I had dropped out of school. Because and the reason I dropped out of school is because I had a credit left to get my degree, and I said that's stupid. I'm not coming back to this establishment. And so I was working retail, and the first day was great, kind of like Akira. The first day was great. I was like, wow, like talk about how bad retail is. It's not that bad. First day was great. Then I was like, third weekend, I said, I can't do this. I said, if I'm here longer than a year, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And so I told myself, I said, I have to like do something for my career within this year, or else I'm gonna go crazy. And right before the year mark was when I booked Big City Greens, and I was able to quit. But that was like a miserable experience, I think, for me. That was my like, this sucks sort of thing.
Well, luckily, a zombie apocalypse didn't force you to have to get out of that.
Right?
So things worked out a lot better for you. Yeah, man. To kind of go back to, we were talking about the amazingness of the Gamma scene, and especially, getting to work with Sabat and stuff like that. This kind of bleeds into some of the other questions I've asked, but what are some like voice acting scenes that have really stuck with you that you've done over your career? Like years later, you're like, oh man, yeah, that Gamma scene, it's got a top spot in my brain. Or what are some others?
I think for me, like Hawks's backstory episode, like in its entirety, was like something that I think sticks with me, just because I went through like three different stages of Hawks's voice. There's like his regular voice, and then there was like his damaged voice, and it was just kind of cool, like being able to like play that reveal with him. And like the him and against twice type deal. I played this character Hunter in the Owl House, and there's a scene where he goes through a lot during the show, and there's a scene where he breaks down crying, and that just sticks with me a lot because that's something that I've like hadn't really had to do, and like that, like I just love being able to play that scene. As well as in Raise Zero, I play this character named Garfield, and he has one of those like anger, like one of those like emotional, and it was like my first ever like emotional anime scene that I'd ever done like to that at that time, and it was like really really focused on him, and like that just will stick with me because I charged so much emotion into that scene, and that show itself is already so nuanced and layered. So like that'll stick with me. And of course, I'm working on Persona 3 Reload, and I play this character Junpei, and for the people who've played the game, like he has this crazy arc. And there's a scene in there that I think I just will always sort of stick with me. I was going through it with him in a different way, but I was experiencing the same thing Junpei was experiencing in that moment. Whew, that always stick with me, I think. Getting a little emotional thinking about that. But
that's good, man. That's excellent. I think so many people, especially who passionately are into anime and stuff like that, it's always really refreshing to see that the people who voice the characters that we like, enjoy doing it too, and get deep into it.
I got one more. Ogun's flaming ink scene. That was like I just loved that scene. Like as a black anime fan and like playing a black character in a cool show like Fire Force, and he gets this really cool moment. Like Ogun's flaming ink scene will be one of the most like one of like top 3 things I've ever done in my career. I think.
That's good to hear, man. Well, speaking of favorite things, we're going back to Zom 100. What are your favorite zombie movies and/or shows?
Man, my current favorite piece of zombie media. Well, I was a big zombie fan, like back when like zombies. You remember that like era where zombies were like huge, like
every video game had zombies in it or something.
Yeah, I was all over. I was Left 4 Dead 2 with my homies every at night. Like I would bring the Xbox to the homie's house. We'd all play Left 4 Dead. Like that was my experience. The Last of Us, The Last of Us is like, and I'm not even this is before the show even came out. I was like, this is. It was like one of my favorite video games ever. Like like a dream job would be on like The Last of Us 3 or something. Just like I love their take on zombie apocalypse and the weight that it has in the world. Like I just love The Last of Us, and the show was brilliant too. And I was a big Walking Dead person, but like I think everybody who watches The Walking Dead has like, if they kill XYZ, then I'm not watching the show anymore. And so I had my hard limit. They killed my hard limit character, but I love The Walking Dead. I love the Telltale Walking Dead series too. That was one of my dream things. Is I really wanted to be in the Telltale Walking Dead. I auditioned. I never got to be in it, but I really, really love Clementine. I love Clementine. She's like one of my favorite Walking Dead characters. I love that show.
I personally dug the games more than the show myself. So Telltale's actually kicking it back up again.
I know they're doing the Expanse, and they're doing. I'm excited. I'm so happy they're back. They're doing The Wolf Among Us. I'm so happy they're back. I'm so excited to play whatever they've got going on. That the Walking Dead game was one of the few pieces of media that actually made me cry. So like it's hard to get me to cry. It's hard to get me to cry unless I'm acting, right? But it's hard to get me to cry. And the Walking Dead like was one of those things that could do it.
Oh, absolutely, man. Well, I cry at about everything. So that game gets me a lot too. I really just got one more question, man. This one might be a little bit more fun. What are some things that you would do differently than Akira in the event of a zombie apocalypse in LA?
Some things I would do differently, man. I don't know, because I feel like I would do. Well, actually, I don't know. I feel like I'd take the zombie apocalypse a little more serious than Akira. Like, I feel like that's probably the biggest thing is I would actually be kind of scared for my life, right? I wouldn't see it as like, here's an opportunity to turn this into something great. I'd be like, oh my God, everybody, I need you, to give me that crowbar. I'm locking myself in my house with my games, and I'm never coming out until I need to come out. And then, like, I wouldn't take it as an opportunity to like, to like do all the things I never got to do. I think I would treat it like a life or death. It would be The Last of Us over here. It would be so that like that's probably one of the things I would do like crazy different is I'd like take it way more serious. I'd way more serious. So that's what I admire about Akira. He's just like the way he's able to flip that situation is so brave and admirable.
Yeah, he definitely has that character trait that I grew up. Naruto is probably my favorite series, and there's definitely a little Naruto in him on just how he inspires everybody around him to do better and to go for their dreams, and maybe some Luffy in there too. But yeah, man, it's been a blast talking to you. I've been really enjoying your performance on Zom 100, and I'm all caught up waiting for the new dub to drop. But yeah, man, I hope you have a great day and keep doing what you're doing. You seem to be loving it. And, I think we all strive to find something we're loving doing. And your work brings joy to a lot of other people. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet. It's been a blast, man. I appreciate talking to you. Thank you for your questions. They were all so great.